I was just having a shower. I was already bald because of chemotherapy. And I just felt a lump behind my ear. And I literally freaked out, you know? And I called my psychologist and I'm like, I want to end this today and I'm committing suicide. And she's like, no, you cannot do this. You're strong and you've been through a lot and you just cannot give up now. And I'm like, this cannot be possible. I'm not even done with chemotherapy, that now I'm just getting another type of cancer. And she's like, maybe that's not the case. Maybe that's just sort of glands or anything that came out of because of chemotherapy, because of the intoxications and everything. And I'm like, no, I have a feeling, just the way I had a feeling that I have breast cancer, I'm now having a feeling that this is a tumor, you know? At that time, I had the most pessimistic oncologist on the face of earth. And he was like, that's not possible. And I'm like, what's wrong? And he's like, literally that was what he said. He's like, if that's true, you're only gonna live for 7 months. Maybe like a month later, it was like, the symptoms were starting to show. My oncologist was like, I say you just quit university, you quit work, you go sit at home and take care of yourself. And I'm like, and by taking care of myself, you mean to die in few months? That's not what I want. He's like, but that's God's will. And I'm like, if I were to quit university the way you're saying and just sit home, I'll be allowing death and not God, you know? And at some point I'm like, miracles do happen. And so he was like, you're dreaming too big. And that was the moment I'm like, no, you're thinking too small. And on that day, I called my psychologist and I'm like, I want another oncologist. And she referred me to another one who's just, he's amazing, you know? He just made all the difference. So I first went to him and I took my file and he was like, this is a rare case, a very rare one. There's only 72 cases in the world, okay? But I choose to say that we don't have to lose hope in a way, and miracles do happen. And I'm like, that's what I want to listen to. Like, that's what I want to hear. Like, the last time this surgery has been done was in 2001. Okay, it's been 13 years that no one has ever went through this surgery because it's just not guaranteed in a way. Okay, so at that point I just had two options. It's either I continue to live the 4 months of my life, or I choose to go through this surgery, and it's either I die under surgery or I live. And by live, it's not 4 months, you know? So that was a really hard time, a really tough decision I need to make in my life. And it took me like 2 days, and I just called him and I'm like, I'm ready to prepare the paper.
Stephanie's best friends, about a month before Stephanie's scheduled to fly to Los Angeles for her surgery, ends up in this little tiny Christian bookstore in middle of nowhere, Beirut. She goes in there and just starts crying and like loses it, and the people who are working there at the bookstore surround her, ask her what's going on. She tells me and how she's so afraid of losing her friend. And right there, and then they say, hey, it'd be awesome if you would bring your friend back. We'd love to pray over her. So the day before, this is May 19th, 2014, the day before she's supposed to fly to Los Angeles for this crazy procedure, her friend, literally what is likely to be the final day of her life.
When I had the surgery to remove the second lump, one of my friends that I know, she came to me and she's like, I want you to come with me to a really special place. And I'm like, I only have this few hours, you know, those few hours I want to spend time with family, with my mom, with like, you know, and it was 2 days before it was my mom's birthday, you know? So I just felt like I want to be close to them, maybe in those few last hours, maybe, you know? And she's like, I promise it won't take much time. It's just like maybe half an hour and then we just leave. And then we're just walking and we stood here and she's like, here's the place. And just stared like this and like, here's the place. And I'm like, yeah. I like, what about it? Like, it's all like crosses and Bibles and Jesus and like, what am I doing here, you know? So she's like, when you did your surgery a month ago, I came here and to get you a souvenir, and I told them your story, and they wanted to meet with you. So if you don't mind, I'd like to introduce you to them. And we're just debating this over the door, and this bell, there's that bell that was ringing, okay? And so Hiyam, that lady, she just came to the door and was like, may I help you, ladies? And my friend was like, this and that is the girl I told you about, I don't know what. So we came in, and Hiyam started more like preaching, maybe, I don't know, like she started talking about Jesus, okay? And she's like, you would have to let him come into your heart and to accept him, and then he will do whatever is best for you. And I was like, yes, I accept that. And she's like, she just stared at me like maybe she didn't get this, you know? And then she explained it, and I'm like, yes, I agree with this. And she's like, that was fast. And I just thought about it at that moment, like, I only have maybe a few hours, you know? I need anything just for me, like, maybe this can save me in a way, you know? And then they started praying for me. And then we said goodbye, and they wanted to hear from me, and they took my phone number, and then I went home. And that night I felt something. It wasn't really weird as much as it was, I don't know, I couldn't explain it in a way, you know? But I was numb. And I just sat down and I started thinking and recalling every single thing, every single person, every single thing that has happened to me in life, everyone that I've met. My life was just passing in front of me, you know? And there was that point where it was the first time ever I feel that feeling, which was like, God, you're not someone for us to be afraid of. You're someone for us to love. And then I just started crying, and I have no idea why was I crying. But one thing I surely know, I wasn't really afraid on that night.
Maybe God's not someone to be afraid of, but someone to love. Like maybe he's actually someone that cares for her. So she's having these like weird thoughts, and then simultaneously she's feeling some weird sensations that she hadn't felt with chemo. She felt all kinds of crazy pain and all kinds of heavy physical issues throughout the brain tumor. Banging on the door, like trying to wake her up because they're all nervous, concerned, like what happened? She hasn't slept like this in days, so what's going on? So they go in, they wake her up, and immediately she wakes up and doesn't feel a single symptom, doesn't feel any of the feelings she once had felt. And the first thought that comes to her is, was this a miracle? But then, like almost as quickly as that thought goes in, the practical side of her brain comes on, and she's like, no, that's crazy, and dismisses it. So she ends up hanging out with the doctor's office, where her doctor was going to perform a final test, because this was such a crazy, rare, weird cancer. An opportunity to study her cancer both as she was alive and then also after she presumably would die. So they end up doing this test, and the doctor comes back wrong with a computer or with a machine or something, because before all your levels were erratic and all over the place. Now all the levels in your body that previously showed what this cancer was doing are all reading zeros.
And I was just looking, and all those lumps that I've got used to them on the screen are just not there. Like there's nothing, you know? Like my head is clean. And I didn't know what, like it's like I want to laugh and cry, and I don't know what to say, you know? Like how, like is it true that I now can live? I can now do what anyone in life can do? You know, that's not even possible in a way. And thing is, it cannot be that the first initial results were wrong, because my first initial results because my dad was that much in denial, he chose to do those same results in 3 different hospitals. And the same exact results were in the 3 hospitals, you know? So for us now to do the results, the same exact checkups and tests, and to just have 0%, that was just like unbelievable. That it's my life and I want to live it the way I want, and Jesus has cured me. With God, he knows the heart, you know, and he understands when someone truly means that I want you to come into my heart. Because when I said it, although I didn't really understand the meanings of it, maybe, and I didn't really like get the whole thing, but I just felt like, yes, I want this, you know.
She can do this, and she's doing it so well, then the least you can. And the only thought that came to me was, holy, 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 holy is the Lord God Almighty. I've got to decrease so He increases. And that's it. There's really nothing else to say.